It is the 1st of August. Welcome to another month. August is a very, very, very interesting month for me personally. Eight's always been my lucky number since I was a kid. And eight being, August being, an eight, that's a big deal to me. August 8th of 2008, we're coming up on, what is this? 15, no, wait, I don't even know how many years that is. It's 17 years, I guess. 17 years. 17 years ago, I got in a motorcycle accident on August 8th. I don't think I'll be recording that date. Maybe I will. Actually, I think I will. The recording does land on the 8th. So I happened to hit, and I will talk about that on that day. Of course, we've talked about it here before. It was a rough time in the market, and I was heading out of town on a Harley, and damn it, if I didn't get taken out 15 minutes into that, and I'll go into it more, but 80 plus miles an hour, 17-year-old kid in his dad's truck changed my life, actually for the better. It was probably a decade of physical misery. I'll just tell you that. The body healing from something that was so devastating took a very long time. Problem I had was I was too impatient with it, extremely impatient with it. And because of that impatience, I prolonged the problem. Now, why would I even talk about that patience and stuff? And that's popping into my mind right now. And a lot of this stuff I'm talking about here just comes right to my head as I'm talking. Real estate investors. Patience is what you absolutely freaking need as you're doing your business, period. I know we step into this thing, it should be passive, we should be cash flowing right out of the gate, everything's supposed to be lemonade and brownies raining from heaven the second you close. It doesn't work that way. There's things that you got to do, steps you got to take, do inspections, look at what you're doing, understand it. Just because somebody says it's a great deal doesn't mean that it's going to be an easy deal. Great deals are still great deals, and they can be freaking hard. Some of the best things I've ever experienced in my life, that motorcycle accident, one of them, biggest beating I've ever freaking taken in my life, was hard. Destroyed me financially, destroyed me physically, took my mind from me. It erased my memory. My family we had over $4 million net worth, went to a negative $1.5 million net worth as a result of that accident. I lost multiple houses. I lost, foreclosures, short sales, vehicles. By the grace of God, that I keep my home and one vehicle. That was how it stayed. Two vehicles. That's what happened to my world as a result of that. My attorney came to me. He said, "Hey, here's all the assets of that family." And I had the choice. I could have gone after all that, everything, and I was fully justified. But then, I'm watching my children walk around. They were very young at the time. My youngest was 2. My oldest was, I believe he was 9. So when I looked at that, 9 or 10, I knew there was going to come a day that they were going to be behind the wheel, and I didn't want to experience what that father was experiencing. So we let it go. And by the grace of God, have I never experienced it? My youngest is now 18. My oldest is 28. I have not had to experience those kind of things. I'm very, very, very lucky I didn't have to do that. But I was fully justified in trying to make myself whole, which I wouldn't have made myself whole. There's no way. It's impossible. No amount of money would have changed what happened to me. But I had to understand, I got on the bike that day. I made certain decisions that day to put me out there at that risk. I'm not blaming anybody else. Yeah, the kid did something dumb, but it changed my life. I had to look and learn what was I going to learn from that. So real estate investing can be very, very similar. You're going to have pitfalls and problems. You've got to work your way through that. But if you're going to sit there and blame everybody else for your problems that you failed to decide, you failed to handle, you failed to go through the problems or through the rehab of getting yourself back squared away because life hit you in the face, you have no fucking business doing this whatsoever. And you should not be pointing the finger at anybody else. Bottom line, I had a lot of influences that caused me some problems, but it's what I learned a lot from it. It was the greatest education of my life, and actually, I'm grateful to that kid. He's a grown ass man now, family, children of his own. I pray he never has to experience anything like that again. I just hope. To all things holy, I've never spoken to him. I've never had personal communication with them. Nothing. I don't remember the name. But by the grace of God, that he teach me a lesson. And I hope everybody else, you learn from the difficulties you have. Not try and shrink from it and blame other people. Hold people accountable for their crap, yeah. But blaming somebody who didn't have anything involved in it, that's a whole different animal. And I speak from experience on that too. So let's look at what's going on in the market. Very interesting stuff. I was going to analyze the deal today, but no, we're just going to talk market stuff today because there's a lot happening, and it is going to be something that I didn't expect because it's such a big move. And that's why I thought, man, you guys really want to see this because this is a monster move. So let's go into that real quick. There we go. So take a look at that. Take a look at this monster move. And why is that? What happened here? Well, it's kind of the same thing that happened here. To bring this back, it goes way back here. Forgive all this movement, but it's something that happened here to here. This was during the Biden administration when all was happening. They were doing such an amazing job creating jobs and bullshitting everybody on what's happening in the market with jobs. It was all recovery from COVID, putting people back to work after COVID, all those kind of things. Then when they discovered, hey, it's actually bullshit on the jobs. Look what happened. Well, guess what we got right now? Jobs were not doing so well, just like what happened after that whole run with Biden and his team lying about their jobs and bullshitting about what they did for the American people, which they did nothing but take from us. So now we're seeing jobs numbers came out today. Interesting information. Non-farm payroll figures, are very volatile and frequently misleading when taken at face value, and they've often revised after initial release, which does happen quite a bit. Now, the June 2025 non-farm payroll report originally reported there's 147,000 new jobs. We just got a revision. It revised to 14,000 jobs. That's 133,000 miss. How do they miss 133,000 jobs? Who the hell knows, right? Now, similarly, in May of the non-farm payroll was revised down from 17,000, who resigned down by 17,000 from originally a higher estimate. Now, these severe downward revisions make it clear that the early NFP prints cannot be trusted for setting policy or expectations or interpreting the labor market strength. So that can influence what the Fed does, influences a lot. So this July report saw that only the July 2025 report saw 73,000 jobs created, which is very weak by historical standards. The unemployment rate held steady at 4.2%, though credibility is in question due to the survey limitations and participation in rate distortion. Now, average hourly earnings rose 0.3% month over month, showing tepid wage growth and easing inflationary pressure. Now, why this matters for interest rates and the Federal Reserve. People want to know, why does this even play into it? Now, if the true revised number had been available at the time of release, it's probably likely that Federal Reserve would have cut rates in the July 2025 meeting. But I think they did the right thing by holding, honestly. Now, the labor market is clearly deteriorating. There's weakness that would likely lead to lower rates. Now, when you're talking about the federal rates, when they drop the rates, that also creates some inflation. So that could negatively impact the mortgage rate. So we'll have to see how that works. But with the soft labor trends now confirmed across multiple months, the path forward is likely going to be possibly some cuts we didn't expect coming this year. So we'll see how that goes. Now, what we're learning here, we're looking at what stuff we're going to be watching is, current employment statistics. They're for the establishment of level job counts, the current population surveys for household surveys, unemployment participation, unemployment insurance claims. That tells us things for real-time layoffs. The job openings and labor turnover survey for labor demand. That's where we get the JOLTS jobs report. Employment cost index. We have those ECIs for wage growth trends. An institution for supply management, or ISM index, is for managing purchasing, and we got the managing purchasing managers index, the PMI, to monitor industrial sections and other conditions. Right. So those are things we look at. That's what we're staring at right now. We're seeing very, very soft things in the labor market that contributed to that monster move, which happened way back when we had the interest rates get way better. Now, here's one of the things I want to point out here, and this is my anticipation. I could be wrong with this, and it's very possible I could be wrong, but I think we're going to be peaking out and going right back down. I don't see that we're going to take this monster hit. I mean, this monster move on this. This is all it did. I know it's a lot. Let's measure this out. How much we saw move today? We saw a total swing of 60 points, basically, or 60 basis points. That is equivalent to just a little over 0.5% in interest in cost on a rate, is what we saw move today. So, but that's actually, if we look at where our peak was this week, and what's really interesting about when you look at the rates today, they're like barely off of what the rates were yesterday because this is a monster move. It tends to pull back. So because of that potential pullback, they're not going to be releasing anything significantly. So from what rates we saw earlier today, that we actually did most of our locks, it's only 0.3. So that 0.3 is only 0.3% difference, and they're not releasing much. So they're only releasing about a tenth of a third of that. So anybody who's going to call today and say, "Wow, I should lock," or "Hey, what can I get a lower interest rate?" Guys, it didn't move enough. It didn't move enough. And they're not going to be giving up very much right now because there is anticipation of pullback. We also see the worth in that box that we laid out, right? So don't think because the news that's coming out is going to say, "Hey, your interest rates just got better," but better from what? We're only about 30 basis points better than our best rate we had this week. And they're not going to release all of that yet because that's a lot, because they do know that there's going to be some pullback. So, or possible pullback, because we only saw the 60 points on monster news. With that amount of news, we'd have seen a monster rocket up, but there's other underlying factors in the market to drive things. That's not enough to move it much more, especially to move out of our box. So we'll see how things roll. We'll keep you up on it. Talk to you on Tuesday. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to you real soon.